like, how do I handle everything? I was overwhelmed all the time. I think one of the things that I didn't realize until I started doing ITC was that I don't think I realized how dysregulated I was, like just being
Right.
dysregulated and trying to function. I just don't. Yeah, I had no idea.
Right.
And I think I kind of told you this before, but one of the first signs that I realized that, oh, my nervous system was dysregulated was not only just like in the sense of calmness that I had, like I could feel it like within my body, which was completely different. But um, because I've never, this is very unfortunate, but I've never felt a relaxed state in my life. After
Mhm.
after I started doing it, then I started feeling more relaxed, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never been able to relax,
Yeah. Yeah.
never in
Yeah.
my entire
Yeah.
life. Um, and but the one of the first things externally that really showed me was my son started coming out of his shell. I
Right.
think I told you that, like, he started talking more, he started, and it just never, I remember I was doing a lot of grief work and like going through that journey on my own. And I remember hearing somebody on this podcast saying, like, your nervous system, or like a child's nervous system, or when you were little, your nervous system picked up way more quickly what was happening on the outside and then told your brain that, but like your nervous system picked it up way before you even had awareness of it. So
100%.
the
Yeah.
fact that like my son was, he's not like so cognitively aware of what he's doing. He has an immature brain, right? He was only like 3. And the fact that he's doing these things that like he doesn't even realize,
Mhm.
like he's coming out of his shell, like he doesn't know,
Right. Right.
you know. But it was such an affirmation for me, like a week after my husband had been traveling, and then he came back and he's like, what is going on with this child? Like
You saw it. Yeah.
he is talking a lot more. And I was just like, yeah. And then, like, I hadn't told my husband at that point that I had started doing the program. Or, yeah, I just told him, like, I think it's because of this. And, like, since I've been doing it, like, he's been coming out of his shell. And, like, part of me, I feel bad just because, like that myself being unaware of how dysregulated that I was, like, I put that on him. But like it's just something like I don't think because I was unaware of it and because something that I couldn't control,
Mhm.
right? Like you're just so physically like that.
Yep. Yeah.
And until you go through the change, like you just don't realize, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and then I think, like from there, like little, more things started happening. Like I just wasn't afraid of, like having face-to-face conversations with people. Like before I used to be like, I used to see a phone call coming in and I used to like get overwhelmed just at the sight of it. Like, oh
Yeah.
God, what does this have to do with? And I just avoid picking it up, let it go to voicemail, let me screen it, and then I'll
Yeah.
call it
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
But I remember just like within a week, or yeah, I think it was like within a week, and we were doing 3 exercises. I wasn't doing, we hadn't gotten to reconnects. I didn't
Mhm.
have time for journaling or anything like that yet. And the school had called me, and and I was like, it was just automatic. Like I picked up the call and I was like, hi, and just spoke to them, and they were like saying something, and oh, could you just, do this instead of this? And I was just like, yeah, absolutely. And I said, oh, I'm really sorry about that. I had no idea. And, I'll do it the way that and so the fact that like I could take ownership and I wasn't
Yes.
scared of like, because before it was the lens of what I had been through growing up was anytime somebody had come, it was always something bad. Like,
Right.
especially my parents, like, unfortunately, they didn't really have that type of relationship with me where it was like a joyful relationship. So when they came to me, I was terrified, because it was always something bad. And I
Yeah.
knew that I was going to get punished, or like I was going to get reprimanded, or just, just going to be like broken
Yeah.
by the situation.
Yeah.
So, and that for me is huge because I lived life that way, like avoiding situations when things didn't have to be so big, you
Yeah.
know? So, I mean, and like, I think obviously since then, like I've built on that situation. Like I just feel like way more confident.
Mhm.
I, you know, I think part of me was buried
Mhm.
underneath, um, obviously just like layers of the past experiences and guilt and shame and all that stuff. But especially doing like initially, especially doing like the fear paralysis, like making the X's, I think that helped uh sort of like calm my nervous system down to the degree where like, I actually think I'm a little bit more of an extrovert,
Mhm.
but it was hidden.
Mhm.
So like, like I went to on a trip with my husband in July, and just even like yesterday, like, you know, I was at church, and I hadn't met the pastor yet. I've been attending there for a while, but like, I ended up in like a situation where I actually was like face to face with him. And I just like went up to him and I was like, hey, nice to meet you. Like, I haven't, introduced myself before. I come to the 9 o'clock service, and, you know, and he was like, yeah, my name is Phil. And I was like, yeah, I already know that, and like just making like jokes and
Yeah.
like stuff like that, and like just being like candid, like that's usually who I am, like with the people that I like feel really safe with. And like I can let that kind of part be seen, not with like people that I just met. And
Yeah.
like I'm doing that now. And it's like crazy because, like when I went on that trip with my husband in July, it was funny. Like I was just talking to one of his colleagues' wife. She ended up like loving me. Like it was like crazy, but she ended up like loving me, and like, and at the end of the trip, it was really funny because Sean was like, I think you have more influence than I do, even in my own like department.
Yeah.
And I
That's
was
huge.
like, I was just like, I don't know, like I don't know what to tell you, but it was just funny because like